Hi guys, welcome to Office Blokes Reacts. I'm Office Bloke Dave.
I'm Office Bloke Mike.
I'm Office Bloke Daz.
I said reacts again. I'm slipping to my old ways.
We don't
I'm
even
tired.
notice these days.
I don't even know what I'm saying nowadays. It doesn't matter. We are the Office Blokes, and do us a favour, just pop down there and give us a little subscribe, will you? We do appreciate it. It means the absolute world to us. Costs you nothing. Yeah, simple as. Right then, Mike. Why does life seem to speed up as we age?
But it only seems about 2 weeks ago when you were like 60, right?
Very funny. It is weird though, because it does, doesn't it?
I think time.
You do, that is the sort of like the feeling that you get.
Well, time's relative.
Concept.
So if you've only ever lived 1 year, a year is your whole life. So a year feels like an eternity.
Yeah.
Whereas if you've lived 50 years, then it's 1/50th of your life for a year to pass. So proportionately, it's not a lot of time, is it? That's my understanding of it. That's why time is relative. That makes sense?
No.
No? Fair enough. Well, let's see if they share the same opinion. Let's do it. Why life seems to speed up as we age.
I remember when I was a kid waiting an hour for my favorite TV show to come on, which was Sharon, Lois and Bram. That felt like eternity. But as I've gotten older, everything seems to have sped up. Time is going much faster. That's something virtually everyone agrees upon.
Yeah, I feel like it does.
Oh man, so much.
Each year sort of gets faster and faster.
But why is this? Is it just an illusion, or are there good scientific reasons why time appears to go faster as we get older? Well, I'm working with the National Geographic Channel's Brain Games, a show that explores the inner workings of the human mind through experiments and interactive games to test out some theories about why this actually occurs. There is a reasonable sounding argument that says each year goes faster because it makes up a smaller fraction of your entire life.
Let's say I was only 20. 1 year is only 1/20th of my age. When I'm 67, 1 year is 1/67th of my age.
This graph shows 1 year as a percentage of your life at each age. But what I find weird about this is if you add up the area underneath the curve, you'll find that you've already lived half of the total by age 6. So I really don't think this is how our brains perceive time.
You really think that like a day now?
Of course not.
I think there are better reasons why time appears to speed up as we get older. So I've come to Venice Beach to find two groups of people, the older and younger, to see if their perceptions of time differ. So what
do you think, like stress, responsibilities, like when you're a kid you don't worry about anything. So, you're not thinking, shit, what am I going to do there? I've got to do this. And
yeah, you've got less things to think about, haven't you? You've got less sort of going on in your mind, I guess. A lot of it's subconscious when you're kids, and you do pick things up, but it's subconscious. You don't actually think about it.
What could stress a kid out is that his fucking Skeletry doesn't work, or his Xbox, or whatever he's playing with at the time, or what age you're at,
Maybe they're not maybe don't think of the future like we do, like we're looking forward now to booking holidays and doing stuff.
Well,
and
they won't
doing
think of that.
That's what I mean.
That's not in their. That's not in their train of thought. So
that's it.
They're thinking about what's important to them.
Yeah.
Maybe the answer is alcohol.
That's the answer to everything.
It is. It's the question. It's the answer to and the cause of all of life's problems, according to Homer Simpson.
It's definitely a state of mind anyway, because obviously time goes at the same speed.
No, it doesn't. I heard Brian Cox talking about it the other day, funnily enough, and he said, what did he say? It was like, if someone, time can be relative to speed, I think it was. So two people whose watches are set at the same time, but someone travels at a really fast speed, the watches actually very slightly reflect different passages of time because it's relative to speed. Something like that.
Enough to notice.
I get that, but I mean, that's
enough if you've got
like
one of these
absolute
ridiculous,
minute sort of like, piece of time, aren't you there? I'm just talking in general. A year for us now is the same as a year for someone that's like, 5 years old, 10 years old. The same amount of seconds, the same amount of hours.
This sounds like a fucking pissed up fucking conversation we've been. You've been smoking weed. He's at about 48 pints of Carling, so he's half pissed.
Nowhere near.
Just being tipsy.
Nowhere near. 48 pints.
What I want to do is I want to set my timer going, and without counting, you tell me when you think a minute is up.
Let's go.
Start.
Okay.
Everywhere around the world, when this experiment is performed, older people typically overestimate, while younger people measure it quite accurately.
All right, probably stop.
Yep.
Whoa. 1 minute, 2 seconds. A minute and 2 seconds. A minute and 5.
As we get older, the rate at which our neurons fire, or our neuron conduction velocity, it decreases. And you can think of this firing rate a little bit like an internal clock. And so if our internal clock is slowing down, that would make everything else, external time, seem to be speeding up.
I'm going to tell you the time.
Now?
Now.
1 minute.
That's it? That was 1 minute?
1 minute.
Minute, 17 seconds.
Not bad, right?
Not bad.
I thought I'd be a lot closer actually, but I guess I wasn't.
Do you want to know what it really was? 1 minute, 47.
No way, it was almost 2 minutes.
It was
Actually, almost 2 minutes.
It was almost
It really is amazing how fast time flies by, it really is.
Our sense of time, or chronoception, is not like one of the standard 5 senses. It has no specialized receptor cells, and it does not appear to be localized in just one part of the brain. Perhaps this suggests that it's not one coherent thing at all. But it does seem that our perception of time is very fundamental. Studies of rats have shown that even with their neocortex removed, that is the higher order thinking part of their brains, they're still able to learn how to time 40 seconds accurately. That's quite remarkable, and it suggests our sense of time evolved early and is one of the fundamental functions of the brain. But that doesn't mean our brains always represent time faithfully. For example, have you noticed that really good movies seem to go by much faster than they actually are? Or do you notice that your vacations fly by? There are good reasons for this. When we're focused on something, we don't notice the time is passing, and that makes them feel in the moment shorter than they actually are.
At its best, this results in a mental state called flow. This can happen when playing sports or video games,
or artists when they're fully engrossed in their work, or people meditating. So I would argue another reason time speeds up as we age is because we are more often engrossed in what we're doing. Another thing that appears to make time speed up is repetition. I'm going to show you a series of images, and I want you to consider how long each one appears on the screen. Are you ready? Go. So which one appeared to last the longest? If you're like most people, you'd probably say the dog. But all of those images actually appeared on screen for the same length of time. The dog seemed longer because it was novel, and therefore your brain had to invest more energy in processing it. What's remarkable is that our sense of how long something is, or subjective duration, it correlates highly with how much energy we're using in our brains. Now, if you study how much energy people use in their brains over the course of their lifetime, you'll find that it peaks around age 5. If you think about it, this kind of makes sense, because when you're a kid, almost everything is novel to you, and therefore your brain needs to use more energy. Fully 66% of your resting energy intake, that's used by the brain because of all of the novel experiences. And that must at least in part explain why time appears to go more slowly. So what can we do to slow time down? Well, studies have shown that being afraid increases our perception of time. When arachnophobes were forced to stare at spiders for 45 seconds, yes, this is a real experiment, those arachnophobes judged that experience as lasting much longer than 45 seconds, as you'd kind of expect. Plus, experiments involving skydivers or people falling show that they judge their experience to last much longer than it actually is. Another time when time appears to pass slowly is when you're bored.
You know, when you're waiting and waiting, that's all you think about, so it seems like time drags forever.
Since there is so little to focus on, you are acutely aware of just how much time is passing, and so these boring moments drag on and on. So if you really want to slow down your experience of time, you could scare yourself, take up extreme sports, get into accidents, and intersperse all of that with periods of boredom. But this viewpoint ignores one important fact, which is that we don't experience time as just one thing. We think about time as it passes, but also as it has passed before, when we remember it. And those two ways of looking at time, they don't align. So for example, holidays, they feel like they go by really fast, but when you think back upon them, they last a long time. That's because you had a lot of novel experiences and your brain formed a lot of memories. And it judges the duration of that vacation by the number of memories that were formed. All that novelty means lots of memories, means it feels like it took a long time. But in the moment, it felt fast.
This seems like it's going fucking forever, this video.
It's been going for about 3 hours on it.
You picked it.
No, you did.
I didn't.
You did.
Was it in the watch later?
Yeah.
All right, I picked it. I forgot. I mean, it's interesting.
It is quite interesting.
I quite like videos like this when they're done in that cartoony infographics sort of way. It makes it a little bit more engaging because there's more colours on the screen.
Goes a bit quicker because there's more to think about. More engaging.
No, it is an interesting topic though.
It is.
It just
it is something that you do think about, because I've always thought, it does go quicker when you get older. And it is, strange as to why it would feel like that. But
I've thought about it the last 3 years when things, it's been stressful and stuff, and trying to get all my sort of situation sorted. I keep thinking to myself, I hope it starts slowing down again once everything's sorted.
Yeah.
But it's just not going to, is it? It's just going to carry on.
I watched
stress
the
about
thing on
it, isn't it?
Someone said something on the news last night, and it said, since the Manchester Arena bombing.
Yeah.
And how long ago do you think it was?
I know when it was. It was on my birthday 5 years ago, wasn't
5
it?
years, yeah.
Yeah.
Someone asked me that question. I said probably about 3 years ago.
Yeah, seems like, doesn't it? Yeah, 5 years this year.
But because they talk about it quite a lot, you seem it's still quite relevant.
Yeah, still in the news, hasn't it, over the last few years as well? So, yeah.
This is the paradox, the great paradox of our perception of time. If you want time to go slowly, there are a lot of things you can expose yourself to that will slow time down, but they won't necessarily be pleasant. So maybe the happiest life and the longest remembered life is one where time really seems to fly. It's like Einstein said, put your hand on a stove for a minute and it'll feel like an hour. But sit next to a pretty girl for an hour and it'll feel like a minute. So what would you like your life to feel like?
To put your hand on a hot pretty girl for
for an hour.
I suppose that depends on things like social anxiety and stuff, though, because there's some people who, if they sit next to a pretty girl for an hour, it's going to feel like a week, because they're going to be going, say something, say something.
I get that.
Don't say something stupid.
Depends how many dollars you got. Singles.
Yeah, interesting on that though. Yeah, really interesting.
Time does seem to speed up.
Yeah, and I think it is because you've got a lot more going, when you've got more stuff going on in your mind and this, that and the other. I think that's what it is.
I don't notice it, to be honest, as far as it's speeding up, like the way he's explaining it. I just feel like every day's
the same.
Yeah. Just not the same, because I do different things, but
to me, though,
sort of time to fit as much as I can in.
To me, though, we were talking the other day. It's like since the pandemic started, it's 2 years, and you think 2 years, really?
It's crazy. Where's it gone?
When you think things back like that, that's when it seems like it's gone quick to me. When you think back at recent events,
do you ever think back the one thing I wasted them 2 years doing nothing, or I wasted them 5 years? You know, like when I was at school, I wasted them 15, 20 years.
I wasted my 20s.
Nah, I don't. Never go back and forget about. I just move on.
Well, people always say to me, a comment people always say to me is, "You're dead lucky, you." And I go, "Why?" And they say, "Because you travelled round." And I go, "Yeah, but I chose to do that. It wasn't like someone didn't get hold of me and go, right, I need you to go
Not
there
necessarily
tomorrow."
Look, I mean, you probably had to. You had to work for it as well, didn't you? People just think, "Oh, you go and fly out there."
Someone's not giving me a wad of money and gone, "Yeah, you just gonna have a 30-year cycle of going out and enjoying yourself."
I like to say a choice as well, wasn't it? You know, you're lucky that in a way you're lucky that you could do that and you wanted to do that, but everyone else has got the choice to do it. But
you don't think back and think the time that you spent in different places, it goes faster, it goes slower, and it just seems to me like that was the time spent.
Yeah.
And if you regret it, you regret it, and if you don't, move on.
I'd like to know what this is like when you throw prison into the equation.
Yeah. Good call,
people are always aging in prison, but time is probably slowing down.
You'd expect that to go really slowly, wouldn't you? Just repetitive all the time. A lot of boredom, no doubt, as well.
Especially when Big Bubba comes in the morning.
I was going to say, it depends how much
you sound like you know someone there.
We're spooning for an hour, son.
Yeah.
Call me daddy.
Yeah, Bubba explains to you on your first day, this could either go really slow for you, or time could go quite fast, depending on how much you enjoy it.
And how quick you go.
Jesus, that got dark.
Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed it too. Don't forget, like and subscribe, please. Hit the bell, and we'll catch you on the next one.
Cheers.